Some heat relief is on the way for a good part of the country, as historically, this is going into the hottest time of the year. So it's definitely nice to see these below average temperatures across a good part of the northern plains into the upper Midwest, a good 10, even sometimes 15 degrees below average. And then we'll have to wait on these upper level winds that will help push this cooler air, this boundary a little bit further south heading into this weekend. So for today on the satellite picture, we've got a couple features that kind of stand out. First, we've got this tropical low that's just been kind of pesky across the Carolina coast. And we also have some moisture further into the upper Texas Gulf Coast here. And then we also have the instability, of course, with our cool front, right? So that's obviously going to kick off some showers and thunderstorms and likely some training heavy rain. We could be looking at some flash flooding up there into portions of Iowa, back into Illinois. But look what's happening further south. The Pacific is just on fire, and we're going to be seeing storm after storm after storm out here into the Pacific Ocean, continuing to rack up some of the storm names onto at least the Pacific side. The overall Atlantic side is still fairly quiet as of right now. So, but we still have to contend with the heat for at least a couple more days, especially for those areas further south into the southeast. It's been almost on a daily basis with the combination of the heat and the humidity. Those heat indice values soar to the 105, 110, even 115 range. But you can see where the ridge is not at, right? That's where the flood watches are likely going to unfold this afternoon into Iowa, back into Illinois. That's where we could be seeing some isolated flash flooding concerns. This place has been inundated. As a fact, I was talking to a friend just yesterday in Dixon, Illinois. He said he's already picked up 11 inches just in the month of July. Of course, this will add to that total this afternoon. So pretty impressive, and upwards to almost the wettest July on record up there into northern Illinois. So, but the setup today kind of looks like this. This is where likely the heavier rain is going to fall. We do have some isolated flash flooding into New Mexico and areas of eastern Colorado, as well as into Wyoming. And of course, the boundary sets up shop yet again across Missouri, Iowa, back into northern Illinois, as far as Indiana. And then there is the tropical low that's been spinning off the southeast coast. We also have another little feature in the upper Gulf Coast here that's going to kick off some tropical downpours in the heat of the afternoon. So if we break it down over the next 2 days, this is where the rainfall likely will be. Of course, where the cool front is, that's where most of the overturning would likely be, and it's not going to be moving anytime fast. So we could be looking at some training thunderstorms. So there's definitely going to be some isolated cases. Look out for flash flood warnings this afternoon across central and northern Illinois, back into northern Indiana, as well as Ohio. This is the bullseye, if you will. But there's also another bullseye across the eastern seaboard, places like in New Jersey, as far as further north into, say, Delaware, back into Connecticut and Massachusetts. You could be looking at some couple inch totals as well. And then further south, it's more or less this tropical downpours. There's nothing organized, anything tropical feature, but it is a tropical low, spinning up some moisture and spreading it inland. So these are typically diurnal type activity, and then they kind of die off as the sun sets, as they lose some of that daytime heating. But once you pass the front, especially in the northern areas, it's going to be feeling really nice. So yeah, you've got the soupy air mass you're continuing with the next 2 days. But once that front passes, it's nice. Clear skies, and you're going to have less hot, even comfortable like temperatures, and the humidity is going to drop like a rock. So that's going to be the most noticeable difference. If you won't feel as like that muggy air mass that you've been feeling, as of late, and that will continue to push further south, especially as we get into Friday, into the weekend. So by the time you wake up on Friday morning, it's going to be a noticeable difference, right? Of course, this is the month of August. This is the hottest time of the year. So whenever you see some 50s on the map, That's pretty pleasant, right? That's really nice for this time of year across Nebraska, back into Iowa, those areas across northern Illinois, even into the northeast, right? You got widespread 50s, even some 40s showing up on the map into Maine. They'll take that all day long, and it's just a matter of time before this will continue to push a little bit further south heading into the weekend. But yeah, it's going to be you know, probably entering areas of North Texas as we head into Friday afternoon. So that means back behind it, Oklahoma and Kansas, you're going to be getting to the action. You're going to feel that little brief cool down, if you will, replacing some of those triple digit temperatures and the heat advisories, excessive heat warnings. That will be at least a distant memory for a short period of time as you got that brief cool shot of air coming down from the north. And it's always, whenever you get that, of course, when you got warmer anomalies building across Canada, the cooler air's got to go somewhere, and that's just going to head into the lower 48. So they're going to be taking that. I count that as a win all day long, especially in the hottest time of the season. But where we're going to find our tropical moisture is when right off the coast. I don't think this organizes on to anything, but it's going to be bringing some heavier rains and likely some renewed flood threat across the Carolinas, back into South Carolina, especially there into Georgia as we get into the day on Friday. And there will also be some instability with the tropical downpours elongated across the deep south into the I-10, I-20 corridor. And some of that may feed into Louisiana and far east Texas as that boundary will be setting up shop somewhere in this vicinity by the time we head into that Friday afternoon time frame. And so going into that Saturday afternoon, those areas a little bit further south are going to start feeling the effects of this cooler boundary. We're talking 80s. Yeah, 80s into the afternoon in Oklahoma and Arkansas, back into Missouri, back into the 70s. That's going to feel really nice, pleasant light conditions across a good part of the central, northern, into the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, into the Northeast. That's going to feel really nice as this continues to try to push a little bit further south. And with it, the front's going to lie likely into North Texas, swinging maybe just south of North Texas on Saturday afternoon. That's where the boundary will be, likely the overturning. So it's the combination of the tropical low, likely the heaviest rains will set up a shop across South Carolina into Georgia, but we'll also have this little, tropical downpours, and then the combination of the front will help bring some scattered showers and a lot of cloud cover. That's what's going to likely keep those temperatures, like some areas, into the day, and not getting out of the 80s in North Texas on Saturday afternoon. So of course that will feel really nice comparatively to the 103, 104s you're expected to get over the next couple of days. So by the time we head into Sunday morning, a lot of the lower 48 is going to feel the effects of that cooler boundary as widespread 50s likely across the central and the Ohio Valley into the Mid-Atlantic and the Tennessee Valley. Much of the Northeast is going to be experiencing that cool down in a big way. And you got 60s for lows back into Oklahoma and to Arkansas. So yes, it's going to be feeling really nice, at least for a couple of days, as that cooler air will continue to settle down all the way down into the south. So as we head into Sunday, that boundary is going to stall out, right? It's not going to be continue to go south. It's eventually going to stall and eventually try to head back up north. And that's where it's going to create more instability as we head into that Sunday afternoon, likely pushing those heavier rains back into Oklahoma and to Kansas, as well as into the South Dakota and Iowa region. But look where by the time we head into Monday, this is definitely a knockdown on the ridge. There is basically no ridge, at least, so this will feel really nice. The cooler air will really kind of take shape and take hold for at least a short period of time. So if you break it down just to start the month of August, it's going to start on the overall below average side. It's a good part of the country, probably half of the country is going to be at least feeling the effects of this below average temperatures over a couple of day period across this region. So all these areas in the blue are likely going to experience a good 5 to 10 degrees below average over that 4 or 5 day time frame. So you're definitely going to be feeling a noticeable difference comparatively, where you've been the last couple of weeks as well. So if we break down the precipitation over the next 5 days through early next week, yes, you're still begging for rain out in the southwest, much of the west coast. I don't really see that changing, unfortunately, where you've got the monsoonal flow that will continue to live and prevalent for the New Mexico region and to Colorado, as well as into Montana, back into Wyoming, and then we'll have the Central Plains kind of light up when we have the rain with the cool front moving further south. Most of the instability, of course, where you have the highest dew points and the more water vapor to contend with, that's where the higher rain amounts will likely unfold. Iowa, Illinois, back into Indiana, and of course where we have our tropical lows sitting off the southeast coast, that's where likely the heaviest rains are going to be, elongated across the Carolinas, into the Florida Panhandle, back into Louisiana. I think Oklahoma gets most of the action. Texas kind of gets a glancing blow with some isolated showers. And then further north across the Northeast, you'll also have some sporadic heavier rains with some isolated flash flooding concerns as well. So guys, I appreciate you watching. Do like this video. Definitely hit the subscribe button and catch my next update where I protect you before and after storm.